We're now visiting the woolen mills at Watkins, and this is just a much more sign of the times when you had people that were working in really cruel conditions, but they thought nothing of it because that was all they had to do their job. This man was probably really ahead of his times. He created bricks, he did logging, he did trading, everything that the woolen mills stood for, and he was just basically had to do it all, including build the buildings that they were in. So, hope you enjoy.
Bricks to actually build the mill. So just behind his house he has his own brick kiln, and he's making all sorts of bricks, hundreds a day, and he's not only selling them and donating them, but he's also using them to build not only the mill, the house, and then the church and the schoolhouse as well.
Where was the getting the material for the bricks? From the land around here, or?
Yeah, so that's the thing about this area, is that the ground is very rich with clay. So you can pretty much dig wherever you want, and you're gonna dig up clay. So he would be constantly digging up clay for his bricks, and he had his very own recipe. It was kind of a special recipe for him.
Well,
Up here on this hill, you're gonna see this little red contraption, and this is actually gonna be part of his sawmill. So the way that works is that you're gonna have 4 mules or 4 donkeys hooked up to that, and then they're gonna walk in a circle, and there's gonna be a rod coming out of that machinery, and that is what's actually gonna be turning the saw blades, and that's what's gonna be cutting that wood. And so he's running his own sawmill, he's got workers to help him, and not only is he cutting all this wood for himself, but he's also cutting wood for people in the area. He's selling firewood, and then he's also cutting firewood for his actual boiler in the engine shed. So this little wood storage area right here, this is about a cord of wood, and he is going through about 3 cords of wood a day. So about 3 times that amount he's using in a single day. And most people use about 3 cords in a single winter to heat their home. So he is using an insane amount of wood.
and that wood's all locally taking the trees down. Is that it?
Yeah. Pretty much mostly on this property, but he also did have other properties that he got, that he used. So, this is going to be the inside of your boiler. These are going to be your boiler tubes. And the way this boiler works is that down here in this little area, you're going to have a fire. And so that fire is what's creating all your heat. And then that's just going to be here in the front area. And then it's going to be pulled all the way to the back. So this chimney is going to act as suction. It's going to pull all that heat through there, and it's going to pull it all the way through the back and then up through these tubes. And these tubes are going to be surrounded by water. And all that heat that's coming through here is going to boil that water, which is going to what's actually creating your steam. So your steam is then going to be built up around the top of the boiler, and then it's going to be funneled into your actual steam engine itself. And there's a lot of work that goes into these boilers as well, because not only are you having to shovel wood into here constantly, but then you have this water gauge, and that is very important because if your water is too low, your boiler is going to blow, and if your water level is too high, your boiler is going to blow. So your water level has to be just right, otherwise something bad is going to happen.
Wow.
This area, you're going to put some water in there and you're going to mix in some of your powdered dyes. Now you're actually going to be coloring your wool, and so it's finally going to be ready to go through the rest of the process. But the last step that you're actually going to need to do before it's actually ready for the machinery is you're going to have to dry it. Right here.
How would this?
Okay, I know, but I was just gonna make a loop.
Look at that. Look at that. Jeez. Holy cow.
With all this breathing in, no wonder people didn't live long back in those days. I'll tell you, they gotta get.
It wouldn't have been cool like it is.
Yeah.
I mean, breathing this 10 hours.
All that equipment running, you wouldn't hear yourself think.
And it would have been extremely hot and extremely loud in here as well.
Oh, wow. Look at this.
So
Wow. You okay? Yeah.
when you have your neighbors or just the people in the area, when they bring their wool over, you're gonna sort it out in the wool shed. You're gonna load it into a bag like this. And there's actually gonna be a child in this bag.
A child in that bag.
Yeah, so there's gonna be someone about 8 years old, and they're gonna throw the wool on top of them, and they're gonna have to stomp that wool down to pack as much in there as they can.
Good.
And they're gonna do that all the way till you reach the top of that bag.
Good.
They're gonna pull you out of there, they're gonna sew the bag shut, and they're gonna bring it over here. They're while it's still in the bag, they're actually gonna weigh it on a scale that they have, which would have been right next to the wool shed. And then they're gonna bring the bag over here, they're gonna empty it out on this table, and this is where they're gonna sort it. They're gonna put it into the baskets, and then they're gonna carry it throughout the mill. So this is technically where your process is getting started, is where you're sorting it.
Can you believe it?
And the first actual step in the process is gonna start upstairs. So if you guys are ready.
Yeah.
She's taking pictures down here. Okay. We're sorry. Ooh. I think I'm going through this one. We definitely. Wow. Oh my God.
See all the different colors?
Oh, look at this.
Wow.
So we'll head into this back room over here in this corner.
Been working in close quarters.
Yeah. And what this machine is doing is this is pulling the wool apart and it's knocking out any big chunks. So they're doing this even before they clean their wool. So once they're done sorting it and they have it ready to be processed, they bring it into this room, put it through their willing machine, and that's going to knock out all the big chunks in it, any dirt or any sticks, anything that might be stuck to their fur or their wool. What this is doing is it's using this conveyor belt to pull the wool into the machine, and this is actually going to be spinning at about 1500 RPM. So that's going to be going extremely fast, as well as those are pretty sharp spikes in there, and you don't want to get your hand or your clothing stuck in that. You don't want anything getting caught in that in those spikes. And I like to think this is one of the most dangerous machines in the mill, but there's a couple more dangerous ones once we get upstairs.
Well, we had another flight of stairs.
Yeah. In the actual fabrics. Yeah. So everything they would do would be separated by color, just so that way, of course, it keeps that separated, so that way they can make their patterns with it.
Fantastic.
But their next step, once they've got their wool picked into smaller chunks and it's dyed and you've got it ready, it's up in this, you put it through these carding engines. And you can see there's 3 of them. These actually work in groups of 3. So you're going to put it through the first one. It's going to kind of pull it apart just a little bit. And then the next one is configured just a little bit differently. It's going to tear it apart a little bit finer. And then this final one, you can see it has a lot of rollers on it. And this is going to be very fine compared to the other 2.
Wow.
And you're actually going to have, well, normally we have a demonstration, but I guess not anymore. We have, there's spindles, or not spindles, rovings. So these are going to be your pencil rovings, and each of these actually come off of your different carding engines. And then you're going to load them up onto racks, and that's where they're going to be pulled into your final carding engine. And they're all going to be mixed together and then turned into one big spin. So this machine, it's one big machine. It's got about 216 of these spindles on them, and you're going to have to move this back and forth for 10 to 12 hours a day at a constant pace as well, because if you went too slow, it would thin out and it would snap. If you went too quick, or sorry, I got that backwards. If you went too quick, it would snap. If you went too slow, it would bunch up. You'd have to unknot it. So you really had to go at just the right speed. And you're gonna pull this whole machine out. And these reels, it's gonna stretch out from each of these spindles. It's gonna stretch that out. And then you're gonna kick this into gear, and you are going to push this back while you spin this in a circle. So as you spin that wheel, you push it back, and that's going to spin each one of these spindles, and it's going to reel each one back up. Your 2-ring ply twister. And the way these work is you're taking your spindles from upstairs. You made those spindles of the yarn, and you're wrapping them together. So on your 3-ply ring twister, you take 3 of those spindles, and you take 3 of the threads, and then you put them together in one hole, and then it spins that together and makes it a strong bond.
3-ply.
Yeah. So whenever you go to the store and you're buying yarn, you're either going to buy 3-ply or 2-ply yarn, and this is how that's going to be made. perfectly in line. Otherwise, your pattern isn't going to look right.
Jeez.
So they're going to wrap that up, and then that's going to be wrapped onto a reel from there. So one of these smaller reels, you're going to wrap that up onto those, and that's going to be put onto the back of your loom.
Good.
So it's a very long process.
It's unbelievable process, I think.
Yeah, it's
You
just,
know, you don't think about.
Yeah. So once you have your fabric off of your loom upstairs, it's not going to be perfect. It's going to feel kind of rough, like this. You can feel that if you'd like.
Sure.
And that's going to be. It's not going to be the best. It's more like a horse blanket. And then running it through this fulling machine. Down here in the bottom, you're going to have a mixture of ash and water. And from earlier when they had that I'm drawing a blank on what it's called. The lard. When they put that lard in the wool in the beginning of the process, that's going to combine with that ash and that water, and it's going to create kind of a soft solution, and that's going to cause your fibers and your fabric to actually be straightened out. So it's going to make it a lot
Wow.
softer.
Right. Absolutely.
Any holes that are going to be in your fabric, it's going to fix those holes.
wow. Okay.
So
Jeez.
so it is pretty dark in here.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's dark.
I can line it up with this. There's your
Good on it.
mats.
How did they get that design in there?
That is a good question. I think that was from another machine that we have, but we don't necessarily talk about it. But this
There's
is
a blue one.
so this is actually this would have been your washing machine.
Oh,
So once you have all your, you got your ash in there and you
Yeah.
have your lard in there, you don't want to keep that in your wool. So you're going to want to wash that out with your washing machine. And then right next to it, back down into here.
jeez.
So, like I said earlier, they were very inefficient.
Holy cow.
And that wool is still going to be a little bit damp. It's not going to be completely dry. And so what they do is they bring it back down, and they're going to put it into this machine, which is going to be your gigging mill. And the way your gigging mill works is, if you'd like to feel this, this is going to be a more fluffy material.
Nice.
And these are teasels. And teasels are actually, they grow in great numbers out in the woods, so you're going to find a lot of them. You're going to go out, you're going to collect a bunch of them, and you're going to load them up onto trays, and you're going to load those trays into here. You can see there's little pieces of teasel. And so what this is going to do is it's going to slice off that layer of fuzz.
Jeez.
Now it's going to be a much finer material. It's going to be a little bit softer. And that's what these razor blades on here are going to be doing.
Right.
So that's just going to slice that off. And now it's like a suit pant material. It's almost like your Sunday best something. And these plates over here in the corner are your metal plates. And you are going to place them in between each layer of fabric.
Wow.
And then you are going to press this down. And these are going to be heated up by the boiler. So they're going to be very hot. And that is going to essentially iron them. It's going to create a lot of steam, of course. But now you're building just loose fabric that they have laying around. They're going to be selling tools, flour. He's going to be selling hams.
Second from the top.
Yeah, right.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah.
Herringbone.
Is that what it's called?
Isn't it herringbone?
Yeah.
What's
The
it
bone,
design?
it's going each way there, it's herringbone,
Good.
I did not know that.
Yeah,
like men's suits and stuff.
Oh,
In
yeah.
fact, in our day, it was, you know.
But he's selling all sorts of things in here.